Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez.
And I'm Kevin Frio. We'd like to remind you right at the top that the meetings we cover are available on demand at the town's website. Log on at www.town.barnstable.ma.us.
Well, coming up on Thursday, the Town Council meets for the final time in 2009. Overall, the agenda is light, but the Council does have on tap the important task of adopting a budget policy for fiscal year 2011. Kevin Frio sat down with Assistant Town Manager Tom Lynch, who gave us a more detailed description of some of the sticking points that the Council will be working out.
Before we move on into the business of the Town Council, I just want to briefly talk about the role and responsibility of the leadership team on the Town Council, that being the Vice President and President. Could you tell us about what their roles and responsibility as far as leadership is for the Town Council?
Well, naturally, the Council President is the presiding officer, so and also helps to do any appointment on committees that might happen within the Council itself. Very importantly, sets the agenda for the Council meetings, and we generally do that in the 2 weeks before the election, holds all the press conferences, and of course represents the Town Council out in the town, out at various events, whether it's Veterans Day or Memorial Day, and things of that nature. So while there are some ceremonial aspects to it, there are clearly the nitty-gritty of running it, and the Council Vice President becomes important because that individual first serves if for some reason the Council President can't be there, but also they become a team and need to talk things over and get back to the rest of the members in terms of communicating items to them. And probably equally important, the Council Vice President generally takes on the role of monitoring how many minutes one has for public comment. So that's a thankless role, but one that needs to be done to keep the meeting moving along.
Could you tell us what the election of officers means for the Council?
Yes, generally at the first meeting in December, as happened again this year, they nominate the Council President and Council Vice President. This year there was one nominee for Council President. Fred Chergotis was renominated, but there are two candidates, Jan Barton from Larson's Mills and James Crocker from Osterville, who are vying for the Vice Presidency slot. So the election generally happens at the second meeting, which traditionally is more of a ceremonial meeting. You're close to the holidays, and people's focus isn't generally on as much on town business as normal. So they just try to limit it to a few key items that they'll discuss. So that's why we have a rather brief agenda. But clearly one important piece will be the election of the officers. Now, Councillor Milne, there's a recall election on that same day. He requested that the election of officers be put off until after 8 o'clock, when it was determined the results of that election. So even though viewers will see that it appears right after the public comment section, in point of fact, it may be that it gets put off until after the whole business is dealt with, and we'll just have to wait until that result comes in, because the Council did say they would honor his request to wait for the results of the recall election.
Well, Tom, keeping our interview moving forward, let's jump right in on the business of the Town Council and what they're looking at. Now, the first thing is a budget policy workshop. Now, this isn't something that has just come up. The budget policy for 2011 has been ongoing for quite a number of months, and the team here is...
It was introduced when we did the workshop on the budget, and it's been mentioned a couple of times at other council meetings. But the council, in looking at it 2 weeks ago, said, gee, this is really something that we should spend some time discussing. So they're starting the meeting at 5 o'clock on this Thursday, and it's going to be held in the Selectmen's conference room, but it'll be televised and live, of course, and the public is invited while the election is going on in the hearing room. So this budget policy it's really what guides the town manager and our finance team in setting the budget up. So if I may, I might point out a few areas that the councils themselves raised as issues that they would like to discuss, because they felt they should have a little bit of discussion on to give firm direction to the administrations to how they'd like us in preparing the budget. The first item of importance is under the revenue policy in order of priority, and it's to limit the increases on the property tax revenues to 2.5% plus new growth. Well, that's the Prop 2.5 that's been in effect for many years now, and that's saying that they would prefer not to have an override. So we're going to go into this budget not preparing it as if we would have an override in some way. So if they discuss this and keep it within the present budget guidelines, then we know we're dealing with the revenues we have. That's what we have to live within. Secondly, an area they want to discuss it frequently comes up is that increases in the general fund revenue will be shared 60-40 between school and municipal operations, net of the amount set aside to cover the fixed cost increases. So when your new money comes in, the first thing that Mark Milne will do is apply those to costs that go up, like workman's comp or just health insurance costs, fixed costs that are there that we have to meet, retirement obligations, things like that. Then the new growth gets split 60% to the school operations and 40% to the municipal side. Members want to discuss that to make sure that that's fair, that that's the same direction they want it to go in. We've had that for many years. It seems to have worked well between the school and the town, but the council gives us direction on that, so we'll listen to see what they have to say on that. And then finally, they will be one other area that was mentioned, and was that they'll be looking at the Capital Trust Fund, which maintains a minimum of about $6.725 million in general funds annually, and so they're going to look at to see whether they keep that. The council president asked all members to get questions to him so that we can prepare for the meeting, and these seem to be the areas that council's interested in.
Thank you very much for that insightful input from this budget policy discussion, Tom. There are two other items that we'd like to discuss that are on the agenda. They're conservation restrictions. We have seen them before.
Last 2 weeks ago, they had a presentation by the Barnstable Land Trust on these two parcels in Barnstable Village. So they've already had the presentation. This will just be council discussion and vote. So we'll see whether or not they want to set these environmentally sensitive pieces aside under conservation restrictions, and we'll see how that goes through the debate.
Well, Tom, we're running out of time for this interview. Is there anything else you'd like to add for our folks at home?
I just say I've appreciated this through the years, because this will be our last council meeting before the holidays. So I wish everyone, happy holidays and happy New Year, and we'll look forward to doing this in the year 2010.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, the council meeting gets going early this Thursday at 5 p.m. and it will begin in the Selectmen's Conference Room, as Councilor Greg Milne's recall election will be ongoing in the hearing room until 8 o'clock. Now let's take a look at the rest of this week's meetings. The Airport Commission will meet in the Gorley Conference Room at the airport. At 6:30, the Conservation Commission has a meeting in the Selectmen's Conference Room. And then at 7 o'clock, the School Committee meets in the Town Hall Hearing Room. On Wednesday, December 16th at 7 o'clock, the Highness Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission meets in the Selectmen's Conference Room. At 7:30, the Shellfish Committee meets at the MEA office on Finney's Lane. Then on Thursday, December 17th at 7 o'clock, the Town Council has a meeting in the Town Hall Hearing Room.
Well, that's all the time we have for now. For Kevin Friel, I'm Nick Cortez. We'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.